Didn't you think of moving away? Oh, no, then again, San Francisco.
At last!
The Cult of
Frisco!
Welcome to the Cult of Frisco podcast. I am your host, Gary Buechler, coming to you from San Francisco, California. You can see I'm without a co-host tonight, going this one alone, just like the Doctor did in Heaven Sent. Harry will be back after the Husbands of River Song airs, sometime hopefully close to the Christmas special, and I can't wait for that. He is currently moving from one undisclosed location to another undisclosed location. I hope the move goes well, Harry. I will get started with our Doctor Who Hellbent review in 12 moments, and we're going to start with the opening, which looks an awful lot like the Impossible Astronaut opening, as it was meant to. And we have the Doctor in the desert, this time in Nevada, heading up to a very familiar American cafe or diner. And lo and behold, we see Clara alive, and our guitar-toting Doctor sits down and starts playing a song. And I love how they broke the fourth wall here, and he plays Murray Gold's beautiful Clara's theme. And just aside real quick, Murray Gold is the composer of Doctor Who. If some of you aren't aware of that great music in the background, he's been doing it since the starting of New Who. And I don't know why this guy isn't getting jobs in Hollywood. The soundtracks for Doctor Who top most. I will tell you what, all the Doctor Who soundtracks are better than any Marvel Cinematic Universe soundtracks. They have, just more feel to them. They're chaotically and subtly bombastic and beautiful and cinematic, a la old John Williams and Jerry Goldsmith. I mean, just really good. Yes, I am a soundtrack geek. So we get back to Clara being alive. And in the scene, they really just wanted to make it look like that Clara was the one who didn't remember the Doctor. The Doctor starts playing Clara's theme. She asks about the song. She asks if it's sad. And a great line here. He says, "Oh, nothing's sad until it's over." He said the name of the song is Clara, and she wants to hear about it. And then we roll into the credits. So, and this is like classic Moffat misdirection. He likes to foreshadow material in a new story using his own material from past stories. So it's kind of a tease in a way. You think, maybe there'll be some reference to Amy and Rory, which there was, but I mean, it's just it's kind of throwaway. But I mean, it's also Stephen Moffat trying to, give something to the fans a little bit. So I do appreciate while he does it, but it feels sometimes more like a tease. Speaking of teases, we get to our number 2 moment, and surprisingly, I kind of thought this would be coming at the end of the season, but I didn't think it would be this manner. We get Gallifrey and Time Lords, and it's not Gallifrey through a crack in the universe, and it's not Gallifrey trying to take over Earth. It's not Timothy Dalton, although I would accept that back. It is Ken Bones, who played the General in The Day of the Doctor, and he and voiced over in the Time of the Doctor. And he is back, and as the Doctor returns, and if you want to know our views on Heaven Sent, we did do a review, and you can I'll link it in this video, and you can check it out. The Doctor came the long way around to Gallifrey, and he is pissed. And the opening shot is awesome. They just go through, it's kind of like the opening to Asylum of the Daleks, where they pan over the city and they go through the stock, and you see somebody standing there. They do the same thing with Gallifrey, and you hear all the cloister bells ringing, and the General asks, a soldier what's going on down there, and there's an alarm, and then you see, which is obviously Rassilon, played by Donald Sumter, who is Meister Lewin from Game of Thrones. So that's now the 19th actor who's been in New Who and Doctor Who, which is Classic Who too, which is pretty amazing. And the Doctor's return is not welcomed. So all is not right with the Time Lords and the Doctor. And with the Doctor, it's understandably so, since they just put him through 4.5 billion years of basically torture. So I'd be kind of pissed. But the coolest moment there was seeing the return of Rassilon, obviously regenerated. We see the seal of Rassilon there. And, it's really interesting what they're going to do with that character, and I will get that a little bit later. But our number 3 moment is the barn, the most famous barn in sci-fi, the one from The Day of the Doctor and the one from Listen. The Doctor returns there, and in this we get to see, through assumption, because no words are really spoken here, a little bit about his past. And now I just want to, I want to know more. Again, it amazes me that we have this show that's been on for 50 years and we know so little about our main character. We know him emotionally. We know him, as a person, as a Time Lord, but we don't know anything about his family. We know one of his granddaughters' names. And this, he's a guy who obviously loves people. So you wonder what the hell happened to his children and his wife and his parents. Why was he sent to the barn? And I think, again, through assumption, we find out, and we've also known this if you watch some classic Who, that Gallifrey isn't just a planet of Time Lords. Time Lords are an elite sect on Gallifrey, and there is, it looked like there's town folk, and the town folk meet the Doctor in the barn, and they feed him and they kind of protect him. The Time Lords know he's there, and the Doctor, they try to confront him, and they try to do it, not so subtly. First, they bring a ship down, and he draws a line in the dirt, which reminds me of the town called Mercy. And then they try to be a little more subtle, and he's just not talking to him. And then finally, Rassilon comes down, and that gets us to our number 4 moment, the confrontation with Rassilon. And Rassilon is still as maniacal and crazy as he was in The End of Time. Obviously, war has just warped his mind. And in this moment, and this is a very pivotal moment in Doctor Who that, I hope a lot of people caught. I definitely caught it. The Doctor blames Rassilon for the Time War. He doesn't blame the Daleks. He doesn't blame anybody else. He blames Rassilon for the Time War. So I think they will, they don't go into that anymore in the episode, but that is something that is definitely going to be dealt with later. The Doctor confronts Rassilon. Rassilon is going to have him executed, and the soldiers basically just throw their guns down and join the Doctor because a lot of them fought with him in battle. The Doctor is a war hero, and the Doctor regains his presidency of Gallifrey, and he banishes Rassilon and the entire council. Now, they do reference when he banishes Rassilon that he's got nowhere to go. There at the Gallifrey is hidden. They do reveal that Gallifrey is hidden at the very end of the universe with only a few years left, where nobody else will want to go find them, which I totally disagree. But so they've banished Rassilon, and he's got nowhere to go. But you got to remember that Rassilon, with Omega, invented the time vortex. So I think Rassilon is being set up as a big bad here, possibly for season 10. And I think everything in here with Time Lords is a setup. It was a slight setup for this episode, but it was set up for more things to come, especially next season. Because, after this, there's not much more Time Lords. We find out what the Doctor is actually hell-bent for, and it's not revenge, which they're trying to make you believe in the beginning. He's hell-bent to get Clara back, and the only way he could do that, which was his knowledge of the hybrid, which we actually find out he has no knowledge of. And that brings us to our number 5 moment. Clara returns. So he went the long way around and wouldn't give up the information because he didn't know anything about the hybrid, although he suspects is just to get to Gallifrey so he could go back into Clara's time stream, which the Time Lords, I guess, have the power to do. They can go to you at the end of your time stream and pull you out right before the moment of death to extract information or slap you or laugh at you, whatever they want to do. But they have to put you back. Well, the Doctor convinces the General, played by Ken Bones, to go down there and pull Clara from the time stream, which they do, and then he punches the General in the face, apologetically, and pulls his own gun on him and shoots him. Of course, before asking what regeneration he was. Clara, at this time, is horrified as she was when he was, yelling at Ashildar or me in Face the Raven. But then the Doctor utters probably the best line in the show: "Death for a Time Lord is like a man cold." And that takes us to our number 6 moment when Clara and the Doctor escape. They go down to the Time Lord Matrix, which is guarded by what's called wraiths, which are empty Time Lord. It looks like just empty Time Lord outfits, on a track. They're just kind of moving around, but it turns out they're kind of digital ghosts. And you find out what happens to a Time Lord with the confession dial. You find out that they use the confession dial to basically torture the Doctor on Rassilon's orders. And what a confession dial is meant to be is a way for the Time Lord to get right with death, to set things up, to say goodbye to his family. It withholds death. It's actually a very beautiful way to go. But then you find out what happens to the Time Lords after their death. Their minds are uploaded into this matrix. So that's the computer, that's the hive mind of the Time Lords. And we did get to see a little piece of that, which I guess is an external hard drive that Missy took in Dark Water and Death in Heaven. So the Doctor is telling Clara about a child who had been down in the Matrix and talked to the Wraiths and found a way to escape, which of course we find out is the Doctor. And he finds a seal and he starts working on it. And this brings us to our number 7 moment. Clara finds out how long the Doctor was in the confession dial, which is a horrific amount of time. And it's a bit bonkers and it's a bit crazy. The Doctor is playing this sheer madness, but I mean, he was in there for 4.5 billion years. And when Clara finds out, it is one of the most emotional, impactful scenes in Doctor Who, in New Who. I mean, it punches you in the gut because you see, for one, how much she loves the Doctor. And she is just horrified. And imagine somebody you love being just absolutely tortured, how pissed you would be. And which is a really interesting thing to play with. Actually, some could say that it's reflecting on what's going on today. You know, our own country, which, you know, fought in the side of right in World War II. It's like, where is it gone now? Sorry to get political on you, though. And this takes us to our number 8 moment. And this is just a great moment. If you think about it, this is the first Doctor. He's got a new set of regenerations. So why not steal a TARDIS? And that is our number 8 moment. The Doctor and Clara steal a TARDIS. While she was arguing with the Time Lord, she was distracting them, and he went down and stole a classic TARDIS with the circles. It's white. We finally get our legit second TARDIS in New Who. And we find the reason that the Doctor had stole it, that Clara is frozen in time. So she is literally between heartbeats. So her next heartbeat will be her last. And the Doctor feels that getting away from Gallifrey will take that away and her heart will start beating. Well, they find out that it's not going to beat. So he decides to go to the very end of the universe. And he lands there and he's hoping that getting far enough away will help, but it's not. And the Doctor and Clara start arguing, and as they land at the end of the universe, somebody knocks 4 times. Again, Stephen Moffat uses his own material to do some foreshadowing here. This brings us to our number 9 moment. A Shielder, or me, is back at the end of the universe. They're back on Gallifrey in the final moments of the universe, and there's a couple of comfy chairs. And the Doctor leaves Clara in the TARDIS, goes out and starts talking to a Shielder, and we get some somewhat explanation about the hybrid, but it doesn't get explained at all. At first, it's thought that a Shielder was the hybrid. The Doctor says it's obvious, but then she turns it back on him and says he's the hybrid. And they do mention the half-human thing from the 8th Doctor. If you don't know that, watch the 8th Doctor movie. You need to do that, Whovians. And they really skirted that one. She asked, you know, was your mother human? I'm paraphrasing there. And, you know, he doesn't answer the question. He says, does it matter? So I love how they kept that open. And I think that would explain it. I know that would piss a bunch of Whovians off, but I think it would explain a lot if he was half human. I don't know if I want him to be half human, and I don't think he is. Then a Shielder says that the hybrid is actually the Doctor and Clara. You know, why does a hybrid have to be one person? It could be 2. Well, then it wouldn't be hybrid. So it doesn't get explained, which is, you know, you think that is such a Moffat-ism, and I'm going to start calling them Moffat-isms now. And at the moment, I was pretty pissed off, but the ending is so good on this episode, I kind of forgot about it, and I've forgiven the fact that this is going to carry over a lot like the exploding TARDIS did, and hopefully it gets explained a little better, till the end of Capaldi's run, which I will talk about where I think that's going. This brings us to our 10th moment, where the Doctor thinks the final solution is to pull a Donna Noble on Clara and wipe her memory of him, and that might be the only thing that keeps her safe. It really is not going to stop her from dying, though, because he can't get her heart beating. The thing is, she's in stasis, and as long as she stays away from the Time Lords, she's going to stay that way. So he feels that erasing his memory, that will keep the Time Lords away. Clara was eavesdropping on the Doctor and a Shielder talking about this, and she knew it was coming, and she said basically what Donna Noble didn't have a chance to say. She has a right to her past, she has a right to her death, and he has no right to do that. And this is what companions are for. He just stops and he realizes he can't go on doing this. So he has this little device that he stole from the Time Lords that was going to wipe Clara's mind, but she used these sonic sunglasses to reverse the polarity. Yay, Third Doctor. And we don't know what's going to happen. So they decide to press the button at the same time, and it looks like the Doctor dies. And this brings us to our 11th moment, which is Clara and me in the TARDIS. So as the Doctor wakes up, because he's not dead and he's back in Nevada, Well, you probably know because you've been watching the episode. He had been telling Clara the story, and we are led up to the end at this point. The doctor gets in the diner, and we find out that it was actually the doctor who forgets Clara, and not Clara forgetting the doctor. And it was just, it was a real sweet, cool, excellent, beautifully written moment, and the best send-off for a companion, in my opinion. And Clara, Jenna Oswald, just her best was at the end. From something, quite honestly, I didn't like her in the beginning. I did like her in The Snowman and Asylum of the Daleks, but that wasn't the true Clara Oswald character. Well, she had a good chance to build some chemistry with this doctor, and this series, her time in there, it's actually been the Clara and the doctor. So, well, I'm loving the end. I'm kind of glad it's over because I want to get like back focused on the doctor, and I'd like to see a companion who was more like, hey, let's go on some adventures. But I did really end up enjoying this. So good on you. You changed my mind, Moffat, as you usually do, because that's why you're a professional writer and I'm just a little podcaster. So the doctor and Clara part ways, and Clara goes through the door that the 11th Doctor walked through in The Impossible Astronaut, and it turns out to be a TARDIS. And her and me, or a shielder, are going through a book, and I guess the chameleon circuit is stuck, so it gets stuck on a diner, which is totally cool. And oh my God, I cannot wait for the special. And they got to do one. They got to do one with Macy Williams and Jenna, Clara and me. They got to call it Clara and me. And a diner TARDIS, come on, that is totally freaking cool. Absolutely cool. So they fly off to space, and when it dematerializes, Peter Capaldi is alone with his guitar in the desert, and for the first time, he looks like a lost old man. And this is just brilliant acting chops, really. He looks like a old man with Alzheimer's lost in the desert, and they pan back a little bit, and there is his TARDIS. And you think about it, this is probably the longest the Doctor's been away from the TARDIS in New Who. And it still has the Clara mural on it, which he probably doesn't recognize at all. And he opens the door, he walks in. This takes us to our number 12 moment, a new sonic screwdriver. Screw the sunglasses, they're gone. I never liked them. I don't know why. I just don't. Well, I know why I didn't like him. I just thought Capaldi was trying to look too young, but maybe it's part of the story. He was definitely having the midlife crisis. He puts the velvet jacket on, which Clara mentioned she had missed, and he gets this new sonic screwdriver, which is awesome. It's still phallic looking as ever. It's blue and gold, and he fires it up to get a good shot of it. He puts his velvet jacket on, and then he snaps his fingers and closes his door, which I don't think this Doctor has done. That was a great way to end it. So fantastic episode, and it was all in the ending. And you know what? That's storytelling. You can't really say, oh, it was a crappy up until the ending, which turned everything around. No, the ending made the story. Was it cohesive? No. Did it have a bunch of plot holes? Yes. But that's Doctor Who. You don't want to throw away every idea. And a lot of people on Reddit and me at first was upset that we didn't get more time with the Time Lords, but I think we're going to get a lot of time with the Time Lords in season 10. So well done. I got to rewatch the season again, but this is the best season since season 4, and this might even be like in the top 3 or 4 of seasons for Doctor Who. I don't believe this ratings down crap. This show is bigger than ever. They just need to figure out how to rate, viewings on iTunes and digital and illegal downloads. I mean, this show is bigger than ever. It's never been this big in America. And people love Capaldi, and I love Capaldi now. I don't want him to go. Let's get into a little speculation for season 10. And Harry and I will go more into this after the Husbands of River Song, but I'll just tell you some of the latest news I've heard. It does look like, indeed, the season will be split. They're not going to start production in January as usual. They're going to be starting it in May, so there's no way they're going to be able to get 12 episodes. So what I predict is going to happen is a lot like in 2012. We're going to get 5 or 6 episodes, a Christmas special, and a few more episodes. And this is a bummer about the Christmas special because, even though I like the fact that it's so close to the end of the season, it used to bridge the gap. It used to come out in spring. And it used to bridge the gap between the long wait. So I'm hoping they maybe throw in a spring special or a summer special or something. Capaldi, I don't know. I've read conflicting reports, but the last thing he said is he would do 20 Doctor Who's if he could. And there's still a lot of drama going down behind the scenes at BBC that with the government involvement and wanting to privatize. So, there is a little danger there. Now, I also think this is season 10 will be Moffat and Capaldi's last season. The reason I say that is in a recent interview, Stephen Moffat said that he wrote The Husbands of River Song as if it was going to be his last Doctor Who. Now, why would he say that? I think they're giving it, that's why we're going to get a delay in the season. I think he's going to focus more on Sherlock. And my hope is, my first hope is that he stays on. I actually I want him to stay on. I think he's been freaking great for the show. I mean, look at the success. But if he does step down, Jamie Matheson, who wrote Mummy and the Orient Express, and my two favorite episodes this season, the Zygon Inversion, he co-wrote them. I think he's the man for the job. I'm just going to talk, this is a wild internet rumor, but I think it's got, I'll tell you why I think there's something behind it. One of the big bad for next season, aside from being the Time Lords, is we're going to see the birth of the Cybermen. And where do I get this? Again, the aforementioned Mummy on the Orient Express. Remember Gus? You know, this goes back to the end of season 5 where they got a phone call wanting to get the Doctor on the Orient Express, which obviously he waited till he was in his 12th incarnation, and him and Clara went and found that mummy. And it turns out the mummy was just a soldier being kept alive by machinery. And in the ship that had trapped everybody was being run by Gus. And if you looked at Gus on the screen, it was a little monocle. If you turn the monocle upside down, and I'm going into tinfoil hat Alex Jones territory here, it is the Cyberman eye. Now, that could be foreshadowing for the end of season 8 with the Cybermen, or it could be telling you who Gus is. And it could be a very timey-wimey way to say the Doctor had some involvement in the creation of the Cybermen. And I think it would be cool to figure out, especially with the Cyber Planner and the way Matt Smith portrayed it. Oh, that'd be great if he came back and played the Cyber Planner. But that'd be cool. The Cybermen, I'm still waiting for them to be scary. Everybody said they're going to make them scary. They could be like Borg scary if they wanted to, but I don't know. They gotta still make some changes to make them a little creepier, I think. The biggest open question is Missy on Skaro. The last time we saw her, she was being surrounded by Daleks, and she said, "I have a clever plan." Now, I still think Missy might be the hybrid, and the Daleks, you know how sick they are. Remember what they did to Clara? She could be the hybrid. That's pretty much where I'm going with that. The hybrid has not been answered, basically. Courtesy of Blogger Who, we're going to have 12 hints for the Doctor Who Christmas special, The Husbands of River Song. Here we go. As predicted in 2008, the Doctor has a new haircut and suit. River Song paraphrases Oscar Wilde. Who doesn't? A Doctor Who charity single from 1985 may be revived after this episode. Oh my God. If you've seen that, Doctor in Distress, YouTube it. I hope it doesn't get revived. That'd be very, very bad. Although it does have the lead singer of Ultravox in it and the lead singer of the movie Blues, believe it or not. Big Doctor Who fans, I guess. I guess that single was put on because Doctor Who almost got canceled in 85. That was 30 goddamn years ago. Oh my God, I'm old. The Husbands of River Song has something in common with A Christmas Carol, the Doctor Who Christmas Carol, and no other Christmas special. Flying Sharks. Toby Whitehouse. Booze turns up in a place on board the TARDIS. Well, you'd assume there'd be some booze there. Only Matt Smith's Doctor didn't like it. Murray Gold breaks out some hits from the past. Well, he did that in Hellbent, too. If you notice, there was the old Rose/Doctor Who theme from season 1. Well, all of David Tennant's run done when the soldiers were putting their guns down. I thought that was awesome. The Doctor must have been reading Douglas Adams again. Whatever that means. Yay, Douglas Adams. River doesn't have a conscience anymore. I don't know if she ever really had one. The events of Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone were made into a movie, apparently. Awesome. A moment that occurred in The Next Doctor happens again with 2 extra. Some of you may know what that is. Some of you may not. And there I will end this solo broadcast of the Cult of Frisco podcast. Thank you for watching and listening. And please catch us after The Husbands of River Song. You may also catch us at nerdrotic.com, where I also do a podcast with Dennis Pathalkas and Aaron Bontel called The Sutra Watchtower, where we cover everything else, sci-fi and genre, besides Doctor Who. And I also do another solo podcast when it's running, Arya's Prayer, which is a Game of Thrones podcast. Thank you for watching, Whovians. See you next time.
Lost.
The Cult of
Frisco!